Good morning, everyone. Hello. I will just warn you on these carpets not to touch anything metal. You'll soon notice you get static constantly. So good morning, thank you for joining us. Thanks for joining this press conference with ourselves. We're the World Travel and Tourism Council, as I hope you know, and Trip.com Group. I'm Jamie Wortley, I'm the VP of Comms here at WTTC. Today we're going to hear from Julia Simpson, who is the President and CEO of the World Travel and Tourism Council, and Bunsen Chai, who's the Managing Director and Vice President of International Markets at Trip.com Group. Together we're launching a report, Technology Game Changers, Future Trends in Travel and Tourism. But first of all, let's introduce, if I may, just WTTC. We just did a great video there for Trip.com, but I'll just remind you who we are. Actually, as the VP of Comms, if you don't know who WTTC are, and my boss is sat right here, this may be my last press conference. We represent the private sector of the global travel and tourism sector for over 30 years. We've been the sector's voice, advocating for policies that drive jobs and economic impact. We work with governments and industry stakeholders on key issues, from travel facilitation to sustainability. Our research provides authoritative data on the sector's economic contribution, and our global summit, which was held, we host our global summit every year. Last year, at the back end of the year, we were in the beautiful city of Perth, Western Australia. This year we head back to Europe, to Italy. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I'll now hand over to my boss, to Julia, to tell you all about this fantastic new report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie, and thanks to all of you that have managed to navigate the ITB building and find your way here. You all deserve a medal, or at least a gin and tonic anyway. I'd like, first of all, to introduce Chai and to thank Chai and Trip.com and our member, Jane Sun, who is the CEO, for collaborating with us on this amazing report. And the reason I'm saying it's amazing is travel and tourism is about to face a technological revolution. It is absolutely going to transform everything we do. The sector generally, in terms of adoption of AI, has been working with AI for quite a while. But if you compare us to other sectors, with probably the proud exception of Trip.com, we've not been early adopters. And I think that's probably been wise. And I'll tell you why. We have B2C businesses, and if you get it wrong and you send customers that like lakes to a country that doesn't have any lakes, and there have been examples, you know, I think we've been cautious, but there is something called the Moore's Law, which is that, you know, microchips are going to be changing at double the rate every year in terms of processing and speed. The truth is we're now going completely stratospheric. So I want Chai to introduce you. Well, first of all, what we've got in this report together are 16 game-changing technologies. You will hear us talk about it later. Things like super apps, that when you are watching a program on the television that inspires you, you will be able to literally point your phone at the television screen and book the whole thing there and then. So we'll be talking about 16 different technologies. They come in different groups. First of all is the digital group, 4 different groups. Digital, which is what I call the super apps. The next one is connectivity. Hang on, I think we call it something different in the report. Hang on.
Financial?
Yeah, financial. So we've got people talk about fintech, it's financial technology, and it's the stuff, it's sort of slightly not so sexy, it's the stuff behind that does all the payments, and that is absolutely critical, and there are some major advancements in this area which will make it more seamless for the customer, which again Chai will tell you about. Then we've got mobility, the way we're moving around the world in travel and tourism is rapidly changing, and I will tell you a little bit about that. And then the kind of wild game changers that are out there. So thank you very much for coming this morning. Let's get stuck in with some of the detail of the report. So Chai, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. And morning, everyone. And like what Julia mentioned, Congratulations for making it here, because I took like 15 minutes just to get to this location. You can see behind you or next to you the slides that we talk about. First of all, under digital technologies, we have AI, we have super apps and so on. So today I will just focus on two areas. One is, I think Julia turned to it, which is the super apps. Now, Trip.com Group, I think we are in the forefront of really developing a super app where basically from inspiration to planning to travel management to in travel experiences or post-travel experiences, we have an all-in-one app that actually allows our travelers or users to be able to use the technology behind the super app itself. So for example, when someone is looking at planning for the travel, we have our Trip Genie AI tool, which is basically helping to provide recommendations and itineraries and ideas for users to make informed decisions on potentially where they can go to, or what kind of activities, what kind of hotels, what kind of flights, what kind of travel products to purchase when they're actually making travel planning. Now, besides this travel planning itself, in terms of using the AI itself, the central management tool for travel is also very essential. In our app itself, you can actually be able to see, for example, when you after you book a flight, when you get to the airport, which gate you go to, right? Which counter you go to check in, and what time your flight is targeted to take off, when it's supposed to land, and the moment your flight lands, you already know in your app which carousel you can go to pick up that particular luggage itself. You can, of course, you can do check-ins and stuff on the app itself. So it's really a super app that allows you to actually do multiple travel experiences within the app. Now, when you get to the city of your interest that you booked, we have a Trip Gourmet, which is basically a listing of typical restaurants or activities around the area that you can actually choose on the app itself. You can even look at how you can book airport transfers from the airport to the hotel itself. So really, the entire travel experience is all done within the app. Now, what is the advantage of that? Typically, if you have 20 apps, when you want to book a flight, you go to app A. When you want to book a hotel, you go to app B. When you want to look at reviews, you go to app C. When you want to go for restaurants, you go to app D. It's so super inefficient. And of course, like I say, in terms of travel management, the great thing is that all the information is in one app. I have countless friends and people who are using Trip.com, they told me one of the main reasons they use Trip.com app is because of all-in-one travel management. You can see all the information in there. And it includes your friends. If, for example, if you book your friends or relatives booking on the app itself, you can also see all the information for your friends or your relatives. So that's a super app. And of course, AI. I can't come to any conferences or any events not talking about AI, because basically AI is really the trend to go. Now, in Trip.com, we developed this AI tool or trip planner tool called Trip Genie about 2 years ago. Since the launch itself, we've already seen, for example, our conversations that we have in the Trip.com Trip Genie, as well as the traffic, gone up about 3x. And basically, the amount of time that people spend using Trip Genie has also gone up 2x compared to when it was launched. Now, why is that so?
Please give me an IT.
Sorry? Now, why is that so? I think the reason is because Trip Genie is very engaging. It provides very real-time and good information for our users so that they can actually be able to relevantly use those information to make their own travel planning. And we have gone from just providing suggestions to actually allow the users to make transactions on the app itself. So it's not just providing the itinerary and the ideas, but actually you can make travel bookings, whether it's flights or activity booking or even hotel bookings, once you have decided what some of the activities or hotels that you want to use on from the Trip Genie suggestions itself. So that's the sort of technology and the AI behind it. Maybe I want to, if you can go to the next slide, let me talk a bit more about financial technology. Now, in fintech itself, right, basically what happens is that I will focus on a couple of things. We have 4 areas, but I will focus on buy now, pay later, as well as a digital wallet. Now, the buy now, pay later payment solution is something that actually has enhanced and provided more options and incremental and increased revenue for many of our hoteliers and our travel industry. Why is that so? Typically, when you make a purchase, right, if you have to pay the actual amount, the full amount, right at the time of purchase. Generally, you tend to stay within the budget that you have in your bank on your account. But if you have this buy now, pay later option, what potentially can happen is, oh, I might not have the full amount now, but because I have the ability to pay in installments or later, potentially I can actually increase my budget so that, you know, in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, when I have additional budget, I can pay for that particular transaction for my holidays. It can be flights, it can be bookings, and that will help many of our hospitality industry, because we are also doing upsell. We want to make sure that our customers and our users are able to buy better products or more products as part of their travel itself. Now, digital wallet is something that I think is not just about having payment within the digital wallet. It's an all-encompassing. It can include things like your credit worthiness. It can include things like your passport information, your bank credit card information. Why is that really useful for our travel industry? First of all, it's very seamless. Personally, I was sharing with another colleague and yesterday in our conference that I flew from Singapore to Berlin. When I went through the gates of the immigration gates of Singapore Changi Airport, I didn't even need to use my passport because everything was biometrics. So imagine when we check into your properties, when we go to activities or certain areas, we don't even need to show our QR code. We don't even need to show hard tickets. We just have scans on our biometrics and we can enter the hotels, or we can check into hotels without even needing a check-in card or going to do a check-in at the hotel. That will actually improve a lot of efficiency and also cut down a lot of labor costs, and our teams or our people can start to actually focus on more value-added service, providing better customer service for our customers when they go into the parks or the activity areas, or even, you know, in the hotels itself or the restaurants. So I think the digital wallet and the travel credential will be something that's really going to be very useful and game-changing if our travel industry starts to adopt a lot of this technology that's coming behind. I think other than learning about the technology, it's also very important for us to have the open mindset to adopt to this technology and help our team members, our hospitality colleagues really understand what it means. Because sometimes it's not about how difficult it is, it's really about potentially, you know, are they open and willing to try some of this technology and learn about this technology itself. So I hope this report itself is able to help many of our industries serve our customers better using technology and innovation as an enabler. With that, I'll pass back to Julia.
Thank you very much. And certainly everything you say about buy now, pay later does prove that people will be spending more on travel. They will be having more holidays because they can spread that cost more easily. So yes, it's definitely an innovation. And the other thing is, I always applaud the Chinese because they had WeChat many, many years ago. And it is a single place, you know, one place where you can do all your sort of life activities. And that's kind of what we're talking about for travel and tourism here. Everything in one place, not, you know, jumping on my Uber app and then looking at my Instagram and then going to all the different things that you have to do. And it would take the kind of stress and admin out of, you know, when you're thinking of booking a holiday, you really want to go on holiday, but one thing that sometimes can put you off is all that kind of planning and admin. This kind of will make it take that away and make it much smoother. So yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about future mobility. This is a really important area. Sustainable travel is critical. We at the WTTC have been backing the increased production of sustainable aviation fuel. I was in Singapore last month visiting Neste, where they have produced, it's a Finnish company, they're producing more sustainable aviation fuel than any other place in the world. Aramco, the Saudi oil giants, have just announced that they are also going to be starting to produce sustainable aviation fuel. If you speak to someone like Willie Walsh at IATA, he will say we're not producing enough of it, and it's not fast enough, and what we're producing is very expensive. But can I say, for anybody in the audience that doubts, is SAF, you know, the right way forward? The thing about SAF is you still burn fuel, obviously, but it is made from products, instead of being made from fossil fuel, it's made from products like old household or business or used oils, or it's made from products like agricultural waste or algae. So it's actually using things that have already gone through one cycle. Now, why is it important? Because it's already been travel in the air, the first thing you need is safety. And the thing with this fuel is it's what we call a drop-in fuel. You can mix it in with jet fuel. So a company like British Airways, for example, has actually flown complete flights 100% on SAF, and other airlines have done it as well. But generally, it's going to be dropped in and mixed. But what we are campaigning for is for much more production, and we are asking governments, and I applaud Saudi Arabia for taking that step, asking governments to please produce more SAF. Now, what you have to remember in travel and tourism, one of the biggest uses of fuel, of energy, is actually ground transportation. Because, yes, we think of people going through the air, but it's all the millions of people traveling around the world on buses and taxis and all the third parties delivering things to properties. And that is where we really need to drive for further electrification. And the other area we're looking at, obviously, is a fifth of all our use is energy when we turn the lights on and the aircon. And we're looking at, increasing our use of renewables. So it's really important that we do travel sustainably. One thing that I wanted to say is, some of you may have heard me say this at another event, but driverless cars really are now happening for tourists. I was in a London taxi with the taxi driver, been driving for 30, 40 years. He went to San Francisco, he got himself a driverless car, and if this is an expert driver that's driving around a really congested city, and I said to him, what was that experience like? He said, it's the safest driving experience I've ever had. And he said, I would much prefer to be in a driverless car than I would be driven by a professional driver. So really interesting. So this is coming to all our cities. We are definitely going to be able to soon get drones that will be transporting, we're seeing it already, goods, but we will be transporting people short distances. You're going to be seeing that. After someone that worked at BA just after we closed up Concorde, I'm pleased to see the Americans have finally caught up with the British and French and produced their own supersonic engine, but we will be seeing supersonic travel. It's here, it's back, and we're going to see space travel. We've seen it in several areas. So I think the way we physically move around is also going to be rapidly changing. Definitely, watch this space. And yes, I think I'll pass back to you now for the next bit, Shai.
Sure, exciting. I think now that you've heard what myself and Julia has shared, I think you can pick up your phones. The reason is because we're going to start to go through you guys downloading this app and this report, and you can actually read the full report in person. So I'll do the same. You can either scan using your camera or whatever device that you have. Let me see whether I can scan this. Yep. After you scan it, you should be able to see this heading, technology changes. Let's see whether you can do that. And if you scroll down, you can actually download the report for free at the bottom. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back to my horrific voice. Thank you both for that. I think we've got a few minutes, so we've got time to throw out a few questions. If anybody's got any questions they want to ask, we've got a team out there who can help. Hands in the air if you'd like to, if you have a question for us. I can start the ball rolling, but no, we have one here. Jude, I think we're loud enough. You've got a big enough voice there, my friend. You could just tell it. Yeah, what's your question?
Leveraging the whole piece of loyalty, as it relates to this this app leveraging the technology?
Yeah, so I actually could have spent half an hour elaborating on CRM, right? So, you know, we have a super app here, and we also have, through the super app itself, we basically are able to build customer loyalty through our trip coins, and at the same time, we also allow our members to actually share the experiences on our app itself. If you have ever downloaded or used the Trip.com app, you will see that on our Trip.com app, there's what we call trip moments, and basically trip moments are videos and photos that a user can actually share to the community. So for example, I mean, I don't know whether it's big enough, but you can actually see there's videos and photos here. So these are also how, you know, we engage our customers to ensure that it's not just about themselves, but also about them sharing the experiences they have in the travels itself.
Yeah, and also, I would add there, you know, you have those the goggles that people wear and things. That's obviously going to very soon be looking like a very smart pair of Chai's glasses here. And not only will it mean that he can use that if he's thinking, oh my goodness, I'd like to go and see the pyramids in Egypt, and he can actually get a preview of that and be looking at that, sitting on the comfort of his sofa at home. And then obviously, if he's inspired, he can use the super app to do the whole experience. But then when he gets with the one thing I wanted to say is, you know, the 5G, 6G and LEO is really important for super connectivity, but where it really comes into its own, Leo, is if when you're then at the pyramids and you've got your same smart pair of glasses on here and you're looking at a particular pyramid, then that very intense, that's why fast speeds and being able to have a really, really intense spot in terms of technology means that you can hear everything about that particular pyramid, all its history, everything about it. So I think we're going to see that kind of, if you're talking about customer experience, right from the beginning, right from the end, and then on to the sharing.
Yeah, maybe if I just add a couple of points, right, Yen, that you mentioned, is we're also trying to build the engagement between our travelers, our platform, and our partners, whether it's the airline partners or the hotel partners or our activity partners, through a few ways of communication. And one way, of course, is easily they can go to our app, they can create a chat between us and our suppliers. For example, after you book a hotel, you will say, hey, I'm coming with my wife and kids. I will want to see whether do you have facilities in the hotel that can serve my family, right? And basically what happens is that through a lot of these questions, our AI is going to gather a lot of the answers. And next time, right, we actually do not even need the hotel or the property to provide this information because AI has already gathered a lot of these commonly asked questions and immediately feed this information back to the hotel. So we create a seamless channel between our app or our travel users and our partners.
Yeah, there's a lovely phrase in the report for people like me that actually like the ideas probably more than the actual technology, but they're saying, you know, AI, where we're getting to is it's like having an in-house professor that gives you all the knowledge, you know, what is this about this, whatever, and I get all the knowledge, but then also an in-house intern that actually acts on it for me. Because at the minute, sometimes I can get, with ChatGPT, I can get a lot of information, but then, you know, is someone going to do my booking? Are they going to pay for that? So it is that kind of front and back end of things. One other point I just wanted to make before we go on to another question is smart cities. We've all heard a lot of issues about real hotspots. When people travel to hotspots, there are too many people, sometimes in too many locations. We are seeing cities now have complete digital twins, where through that, I mean, I saw it in Singapore. Singapore's one of the most densely populated footfalls in the world, and you don't feel you're in a crowd ever. And Jamie and I were there week before last. And it's because I have a complete digital twin and they manage flows. So this is another thing that I think this technology is going to be able to give us. Working, you know, if you've got hotels or a tourist attraction that is so busy, it's got really busy, it's about being able to offer customers in live time to go to an alternative place, maybe with a bit of price flexibility, i.e., you know, a few offers involved, so you can actually disperse people sometimes away from hotspots. So it's going to be very, very valuable, and it's also why we really need to work with governments on this and regulators, because China is very, very sophisticated in this. But one of the things that I've learned by studying all of this area is this actually gives more safety to people's personal data, because we hold our personal data, but we choose who to give it to. And when they have it, they can only use it for certain purposes. And I think our regulators and governments are sometimes a little bit, understandably, they're only human, they're a little bit behind where the technology is. So it's our job at WTTC to support colleagues like Chai and Trip.com in helping governments understand that this is safe, it needs regulation, but actually it can give us, you know, more security in the way we travel. Sorry, another question. I'm doing too much talking. Thanks, Jamie.
Justin.
Hi, Justin from Breaking Travel News. Very exciting to read the report in more detail. And as a huge technical evangelist myself, can't wait to dive in. But I wanted to, and Julia just used the word actually, human. I just wanted to get your perspectives on the impact and future human side of travel. What is the human mega trends that you're seeing in terms of skills, capabilities, the adoption and use of assisted AI and so forth? So love to get your perspectives on that.
Yeah, I'm a very, very strong advocate of human touch, right? Technology is going to help us to be more efficient. It's going to help us to potentially reduce time on low-value work. But at the end of the day, we are in the hospitality travel industry where service, the personal touch is key. So I think what we should think about is, again, an open mind whereby, you know, with technology, with AI, we use it to the best effect to enable us to serve our customers better, right? Using the human element of it. I think that's the combination of technology and human touch is going to be 1 + 1 = 3. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I think it's also about bringing a whole new generation into travel in a slightly different way, and probably an older generation as well. We saw that, you know, with the Silver Surfers. I think you're going to get whatever the AI equivalent is of Silver Surfers. So, but we are seeing some of the big trends is, you know, Gen Z really, really do want to travel. And they also want to make decisions quite quickly. They're very price sensitive. So this is the other thing, you know, AI can help. You know that when you go, is there a deal here? Or no, there's a deal there. And you search all over the internet for different deals. This is really going to be able to help travelers that maybe don't have as deep a pockets as the Silver Surfers to be able to get really good deals and do things really interesting. And that will help destinations as well. I think the other thing in terms of protecting nature and cultures and people, you know, AI is really, people want, the trends are they want to escape. They do want to come to cities like amazing Berlin, of course they do, but they do also want to escape into sort of the wilder areas. And I think that this will really connect people with exactly what is happening going into an area. They're not just sort of, you know, I can't sort of stampeding into a grassland and not really realizing or appreciating necessarily where they are. So I think for Gen Z, it's going to be really good. I also, another trend we're seeing is 3-generational travel. In my days, I said never go on a holiday with more than 1 generation, 2 generations. If you have 3 generations, it's going to be hell. Well, apparently it's a new thing. God help me. But anyway, it's a new thing. But actually, as Chai was saying, the pain points that I have, I've got a 3-year-old, but I've got a 6-year-old, a 6-month-old, and I've got a 90-year-old. You know, they're going to know all that for us, and they're going to solve those problems for us. They're not going to send me to a hotel room without a proper cot or without baby changing facilities. So it's going to be very, very make this much more family friendly. I mean, some of those stress points when we go to hotels is when things are not quite what we expected. And this is going to preempt those challenges.
Thank you. Do we have, I think we have time for one more if we have another question. Oh.
Is there another journalist? That's the only thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
Any other journalists?
Anybody else want to go a bit quiet? Very early morning. Yeah.
Yeah, far away.
Please.
Yeah.
I have one more question, sorry. As we're talking about the future, and Julia, I like your comment about wearing the goggles and obviously generating content. I'm currently working as a consultant at Saudi Tourism Authority, and as we all know, a lot of tourists will come to Saudi for Expo, for FIFA 34, and so on. And that's a great opportunity, but also being ready to realize that upstream of tourists to really turn them around and have them connect to local communities. My question is, do you see that also connecting to emotions? So if if people can obviously generate content, take a photo and say like, yes, you know, I like the pyramids, I have a great experience wherever I am. But what about if I have a good or bad experience and that through technology can directly being generated and shared and can be very positive for a destination, but also can be negative if the destination is not prepared to deliver on the promise.
Let me start. So I don't know how much you used emoticons. I think maybe 5 or 10 years ago, we have very simple emoticons where you put a colon and a bracket. But I think if you now look at the social media, whether you use TikTok or Instagram or some other, the way these emoticons or these emotions are displayed, you just burst out laughing or you burst out crying. Right? It is that powerful. I think if you talk about emotions, I think technology definitely has a way through contents, through the way they create the icons and so on, to really drive emotions itself. Personally, I think if we start, I mean, if I talk to, again, I'm in the sort of Gen X and before, right? If I use conversations with some of these generations, probably they are less into all this. But if you work with Gen Z or the Alphas and so on, I can tell you out of 10 letters or words that they mention, 5 of them are emoticons. They prefer to use this kind of stuff because it generates a lot more emotions versus just words or grammar itself. So I think it's a big changer. Just now, I think we talked about also searches, right? If you talk to the Gen Zs, they don't search on Google anymore. They search on social apps. They search on Trip.com app. They search on TikTok. They search on Instagram. So I think, you know, it's also very much a change in dynamics and sort of the way our different generations are looking at it. So I think emotions can be impacted or at least driven through technology, but not 100%. Because at the end of the day, you know, we are still human. Like I was sharing just now, right? I think the human touch is still impactful, but I think it will have a huge influence on emotions.
Yeah, and I actually think it's really good for customers as well, in the sense that we've had, you know, TripAdvisor 5 stars, Uber 5 stars, you know, and it actually ends up regulating, if you like, the behavior of the customer and also the supplier. It's a really, really positive thing, and it can raise standards, and it's also very informative because, let's face it, if a destination or a hotel doesn't get a good rating, that's really good information for them. So it sort of raises standards. There's much more openness about, I always think dating apps should have bloody 5 stars. Not that I'm on them, I'm too old for that. But, you know, seriously, think of some of my past boyfriends, how many stars they would have got. But anyway, that's for another story for another day. What I'm trying to say is that actually emotions, the kids today are much more emotional. When I was little, I was told to shut up and just get on with it. Now everyone's out there, we're all having emotions. It's fantastic, I love it. So it's really, really good. So it is, and I get in trouble with the emojis sometimes, though. I do, because I can use the odd wrong one accidentally. But seriously, it's a very good point, and I think the irony is you're getting technology to allow us to be more human, and that is what this is doing.
If we don't have any more questions, I'll just throw the final question out to you both if I can. The great thing about this report is it actually gives us a bit of a roadmap. So it actually says within the next 5 years we expect to see this, next 10 years. So for the both of you, thinking as from a traveller, what innovation over the next sort of 5 years do you think is going to have the biggest influence and the biggest positive change for consumers? So Julia would.
What will have the most positive impact on travel in the next 5 years, right, through our report itself? Again, it may be boring, but I think AI is going to be the big game changer. That's how I see it. Because the thing is, AI is going to continue to improve. I mean, look, I was sharing yesterday as well. Was AI around 5-10 years ago? Yes, but in a very different form. Right? People were doing analytics. They were looking at data and using data to make informed decisions. But I think we have evolved, first of all, in terms of speed of analysis, and second, the breadth and depth of the analysis to be able to give a lot of different ways of looking at things and different opportunities and different approaches. So I think AI is going to continue to evolve in double speed time as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think some of the, not so much for the customer, but some of the big changes are going to be there's a kind of quantum physics and quantum processing, because the great thing about that is actually uses less energy as well. A lot of the data centers, when we were in Dublin recently for a Destinations International, I was speaking to some ministers in Dublin. They wanted to build another data center in Dublin, but they didn't have enough energy supply because it is very, very fossil fuel intensive. I always say, and it's not to shame one sector against another, but you know, aviation is often called out as a big consumer of fossil fuels. The biggest consumer now is technology. So actually, although it's behind the scenes, but some of the quantum processing is actually less energy intensive, which is really, really good news. The other thing I think for us and how quickly we can deliver it for customers is investment. This doesn't come free. Amadeus, one of our members, did some recent research that 90% of our members, our businesses are looking at investing in technology, from low to a really, really significant investment. Of course, it saves you money and it gives you a better business, but there is an initial outlay. So I think it's, you know, worth considering that. So yes, I tend to agree with you. I think it's AI, but I think, you know, the sexy things of us all jumping in a little, you know, what do you call them, a thingy that goes up and round, down. Anyway, one of those. I think that's going to be or my taxi driver in his driverless car. So I think you're right. AI is what really changes our lives, but some of these more visuals are going to be the exciting ones.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Hope you haven't got too far to go to your next meeting. You know, it takes about an hour to get to the next room, but enjoy. Thank you very much. Download the report. The press release will be in your inbox as we are making its way to your inbox as we speak. And it's nice to see you all again. Thank you so much.